a growing number of overdoses.
It has us in a state of panic.
Heroin and opiates to blame.
But also in a very state of sadness.
An emergency on our streets, in hospitals, even the morgue. Now, NBC6 has been covering all the angles of this overdose crisis.
And tonight, NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone tells us how some people well-suited to help are facing some big obstacles.
Heather and Brian have a lot to be thankful for, both a year sober.
It's sad to say, but I love the drugs more than I love my kids at that point.
I say the worst part was losing the trust of everyone that I loved.
The two met in South Florida in rehab.
We decided to stay down here because this is where our support system is.
It's been 10 years for Susan Nyamura.
I was using every single day.
Her lowest point hit behind bars.
When I found out that I was looking at prison time, and I was pregnant with my 5th child in Broward County Jail.
She found a new path through recovery, and it led to a career. She's now the executive director of the South Florida Wellness Network.
And showing people that just put one foot in front of the next, and you can become anything that you wanted to become.
To do that, her nonprofit employs what's called a certified peer support specialist.
For me, that means somebody with lived experience. It's not anything that can be taught out of a book. It's not anything that you can learn from a webinar.
Your own addiction is a prerequisite for the job. And you have to be 3 years removed from certain crimes. Nyamura thinks that's too long.
I think the timeline should be less. And I also think that the process should go smoother and quicker.
People can appeal and be approved, but she says the time it takes is another hurdle.
We've lost a really ton of amazing people that could have really benefited this community.
She believes in how peer support can work and hopes more get the chance to help.
Seeing how somebody's life actually changes, it's truly amazing. It is.
She's hoping that with the growing heroin crisis, that more focus will be put on fixing problems in the recovery industry, and believes that making the peer recovery specialist process less cumbersome is a step. She and others hope to get support from the legislature. Tony Pipitone, NBC6 News.
And this is a growing problem across the country, including here in South Florida.
I almost died because of vanity.
It's one of the most popular plastic surgeries.
I had a beautiful figure before. I just wanted more.
But some women are getting injured, even dying.
Surgeons need to be aware that this problem exists.
The NBC6 investigators getting results, sparking concerns worldwide.
NBC6 investigator Dan Kraut has done extensive reporting on the deaths and injuries of women, and his reports have caused surgeons to issue a new warning and to take action. He joins us tonight with more.
Our investigations here on NBC6 have led to a nationwide task force. They discovered more women are dying or getting injured from the Brazilian butt lift than any other cosmetic procedure. They believe it all comes down to how it's being performed. Miami's known for its nightlife, its streets covered in neon lights, and its beaches full of beautiful people.
It's a beach body place. Like when you think of California, Miami, it's the land of the beautiful.
And it's become a hot spot for plastic surgery. It's what brought Donna McCrae here from her home in Michigan.
Hindsight, I wish I had never done it. I honestly didn't need it. I had a beautiful figure.
She had no idea she'd be flying back in a hospital plane.
It's my duty to speak out so that somebody else won't have to go through what I went through.
She's a nurse and knew the risks, but never imagined a few hours in a Miami surgery center would land her in a hospital bed for 2 months.
I still, deal with effects of the surgery emotionally and physically.
She went in for a popular procedure called a Brazilian butt lift, where fat is taken from your stomach or back and injected into your backside. But the surgeon's tools went too far.
They discovered that my liver had been punctured at least 5 times.
She blames this man, Dr. Osik Amulapu.
And my specialty that I love to do is the Brazilian butt lift.
She is one of 5 women who complained about their life-threatening complications. Now the state is using what happened to them to try to keep Dr. Amilapu from being able to operate on anyone else. His attorney disputed the allegations and says they will not be proven at the medical board hearing.
I think that at the end of this, he's going to be vindicated, and we look forward to the decision.
The look on his face, the smile after what he's done to so many people. It's sickening. He's sick.
She lived to tell about her surgery.
I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk all over again.
Others have died. The NBC6 investigators told you about 7 women who died after a Brazilian butt lift in South Florida. Different doctors and clinics. From young mother Heather Meadows to Dr. Christina Thompson.
She was one of those doctors that if you couldn't pay all your bills, she didn't mind. She'd still do whatever she could to make sure you're all right.
Those 7 women died from what's called a fat embolism. That's when fat is injected often too deeply into the body, hitting blood vessels. Once the fat gets into the bloodstream, into the lungs, it can cause you to stop breathing.
Those seem like high numbers to me. You can actually see.
Our investigation into South Florida deaths caught the attention of Dr. Mark Mofid in San Diego.
Some of the investigative reporting that had been done was actually very valuable.
So he created a task force to find out how often women are dying or getting injured.
We didn't expect to find this.
Dr. Mofid surveyed surgeons worldwide who reported a total of 32 deaths, another 103 with complications, and those are just the patients we know about from doctors who admitted it. The survey was voluntary. Physicians weren't required to respond. Dr. Mofid combined those survey results with other data and found more women have died after a Brazilian butt lift than any other cosmetic surgery. The risk up to 20 times greater.
We need to find a way to make this a safer operation.
He believes the risk to women can be reduced by surgeons injecting fat closer to the skin.
Even a single death is a tragic event, and it's something that we want to avoid.
The doctor will be presenting his findings in front of surgeons from all over the world tonight in Japan. Again, this survey was voluntary. Fewer than 20% of surgeons responded, so the doctor actually believes the number of deaths could be much higher. In Fort Lauderdale, Dan Crow, NBC6 News.
You've spent months planning a much-needed vacation at that waterfront home you rented online, but when you show up, your dream vacation is shattered. That's because the rental doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's happening a lot in the tourist haven of South Florida. And as NBC6 investigator Willard Shepard shows us, police can do very little to stop it. Willard.
Yeah, that's right, Jawan. Vacation rental scams have become more prevalent in recent years. Cyber thieves cloning popular websites and luring customers to rent properties that are in foreclosure or don't even exist.
The price for a 4-bedroom
Now a skeptic,
waterfront,
Ashley Spadafora,
this definitely looks like it's too good to be true.
is more cautious when she searched vacation rental sites online. Because earlier this year, Ashley nearly lost her money to a vacation rental scam.
I was looking to rent a house in the Keys, Key West, for my 21st birthday.
On Craigslist, Ashley inquired about a couple of rentals until she found this house in Key West.
He sent back the documents, terms, agreements.
But when the so-called landlord requested to get money through PayPal or a bank transfer, Ashley became suspicious of paying with cash and wanted to know more.
I have an uncle that lives down in the Keys, so I asked him if he could go by the house.
When her uncle knocked on the door, he met the owners, who told him the house wasn't for rent.
I did almost get scammed.
The vacation rental boom in the Keys has just blown up.
Monroe County Sheriff Rick Ramsey says these types of schemes focus on getting your money with no way to trace it.
Send me cash, send me a gift card, a green dot card.
Cyber thieves create fake online listings that look real with pictures of houses, homeowners' names, and even contracts. They want cash payments, not credit cards, and use accounts that are difficult for police to trace.
Because many times we have backtracked and traced these accounts, these bank accounts that the money's been transferred to, and found out that it's already been closed.
Miami's Helen Martinez found out how the scammers work when a Jacksonville family showed up at the home she owns in the Keys.
They arrived at the house and they told our plumber, oh, we're here to check in.
Cyber thieves use Martinez's information to clone her profile on TripAdvisor. She called the site.
What they explained to me was that these individuals cloned their websites.
Martinez drove down to the Keys to meet the heartbroken couple.
They had planned this vacation for like 5 months. They were so excited.
Martinez welcomed the couple to stay in her Keys home. As for Ashley, she still celebrated her 21st birthday.
We had fun. It was a nice place.
In a real Key West rental.
Now, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission receives thousands of complaints each year and warns consumers to be extra careful when searching for vacation rentals online, no matter where you're renting. For more ways to spot if a vacation rental is a scam, click on this story over at NBC6.com or go over to the NBC6 News and Weather app. Tonight, live in the studio, Willard Shepard, NBC6 News. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As the tax deadline looms, the NBC6 investigators with a warning, a red flag that could cost you your tax refund.
NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone is live in studio with a tax time warning for you tonight. Tony.
You know, you trust your tax preparer with your most private information, social security numbers, birth date, address. So you'd think they'd be regulated, screened, regulated. Well, many are not, and you use them at your own risk. It's a sure sign of the season. Tax preparers vying for your business. But tax time is a sore spot for Miguel Medina and Ignacio Cabeza.
It was shocking and devastating.
Both men are being audited. So you could owe the IRS some serious money.
Yep, a lot of money.
I didn't want that to happen to me.
Both believe their refund was inflated, and both owe money to the IRS. And how much is that going to cost you?
It's going to cost me $7,500 plus interest.
It's a lot of money to come out of your pocket.
They shared the same tax preparer, National Tax Group.
That's the letter, the audit. An audit letter.
It gets worse for Miguel. His $14,000 refund never came.
Never got the money.
So he compared the bank routing number on the return he signed with the one he says his tax preparer filed online. The money he was supposed to get instead went into a Citibank account in Doral, opened by his tax preparer. The IRS calls that disreputable conduct for any tax preparer. Medina calls it theft.
And nobody knows how to resolve the issue, not even the account, not even IRS.
In his complaint to the IRS, Medina blamed National Tax Group and Jose Fernandez. By phone, Fernandez told us clients' refunds were deposited into the account to ensure he would get his fee. But he said the IRS froze the account after it detected too many refunds being deposited. Mr. Fernandez, you there? We unsuccessfully tried to get back in touch with Fernandez after we found this IRS policy. When there are multiple refunds to one account, the IRS simply mails subsequent refunds to the address on the return. Problem there, Medina says, his address was also changed to a mail drop box connected to Fernandez.
It almost cost me my marriage last year, almost filed for bankruptcy.
Miguel is now one of thousands who suspect tax preparer fraud. The Consumer Federation of America said the lack of preparer regulation has led to widespread incompetence and fraud. Only 4 states require someone to get a license to prepare income taxes. Florida is not one of them. You don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be an attorney, you just have to get a number from the IRS. In fact, it's harder in Florida to get a license to do nails than it is to do taxes. With no standards for education, training, or competence for tax preparers, Rod Davis with the Better Business Bureau says it's taxpayer beware.
And really drive people to go to the individuals that do have the ethics commitment, that do have the ongoing education, and who do have organizations holding them accountable.
A tax time lesson.
You don't lie to the IRS, never in your life.
Learn the hard way.
Be careful who you do your taxes with. Don't trust nobody. Just be aware, because when it hits you hard.
As for Fernandez, who's not charged with any crime, he told us Medina could go to the bank to get his refund, but Medina says the bank denied him access to his tax preparer's account. Fernandez has opened and closed 4 tax-related businesses in the last 4 years. The BBB says it's a red flag for tax preparers to frequently open and close shops, or, of course, to deposit refunds anywhere but into your own account. NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone, NBC6, South Florida.
Tony, thanks. And a reminder tonight that the NBC6 investigators are working for you. If you have a story you think they need to check out, send an email to NBC6investigators@NBC6.com. Or, as always, you can call our tip lines.
Well, we trust them to safely take our children to school and back. But tonight, NBC6 investigators reveal how school systems out there in South Florida can lose track of all the tickets school bus drivers get.
And investigative reporter Tony Pipitone found that includes 2 drivers who should not have been behind the wheel.
That's because when a Broward County school bus driver reported for duty to sit behind the wheel of a bus like this, her license was suspended for months. We found the system set up to keep suspended drivers from transporting children failed. And that's not all we found lacking. Want to see a mother shudder?
Wow.
Just show her this.
That's dangerous.
School buses rolling through red lights.
Red, it was red.
It happens weekly, at least, at Miami-Dade and Broward intersections that happen to have red light cameras.
That's hazardous to the children. It's dangerous.
You got that also.
We showed one of the 49 Miami-Dade buses caught on red light cameras last year.
You see the lights red.
To Miami-Dade Assistant Superintendent Stefan Cohn.
What caught my eye was the flashes are running.
Our chief concern is the safety and transport of all students. So we take every violation very seriously.
But in most cases, it takes several violations within a year before a driver can be suspended. It would be under your system okay for someone to run 3 red lights in a year before they get a recommendation for a suspension.
I wouldn't state that it's okay. Any infraction is frowned upon by our district.
Both Miami-Dade and Broward have forgiving systems. The Miami-Dade driver running these lights, she'd already been suspended from work for driving with a suspended license, and we found she's been ticketed 37 times since she was hired in 2001, 12 times on a school bus. Why is this driver still on the road?
In accordance with the Safe Driver Plan, if they have reached a threshold of a recommendation for a suspension or a recommendation for termination, that has been carried out.
But to get disciplined, a driver needs to be convicted. The school board stresses only a small percentage of tickets lead to convictions and discipline. Broward County has a similar policy. There, we found one driver ticketed for causing 2 bus crashes in 2 years, another 2 crashes, 2 years, and Broward also had one who should not have been driving. Her license suspended for 4 months after failing to pay a ticket. In a statement, Broward told us safe and secure transportation is the highest priority, and they take appropriate disciplinary action when deemed necessary. But we found they didn't even know her license was suspended until after NBC6 investigators asked about her. She quickly resigned. Both districts work hard to find enough eligible drivers to fill these seats. Drivers earn about $19,000 a year in Miami-Dade, $21,000 in Broward, and are trained before and during their employment.
We will stress safety, and you will adhere to safety. You'll be educated about safety, and if you don't make the cut, so to speak, then you can't drive for us.
And what percentage don't make the cut?
About 90% don't make it through.
Still, with thousands of trips a day in South Florida, some school bus drivers are bound to cause a crash. Like this one last month, with Broward Middle School students on board, the driver's 4th crash since 2009. Not enough to lead to a suspension, though she was suspended previously for improper cell phone use. Both school districts say what we found does not mean the children in these seats are in any unusual danger, but both vow to do a better job of keeping track of their drivers' traffic troubles. NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone, NBC6 News.
And a reminder tonight that Tony and the rest of the NBC6 investigators are working for you. If you have a story you think they need to check out, send an email to the NBC6 investigators at NBC6.com, or you can call our tip lines.
Welcome back. Well, this morning, new steps are being taken to root out fraud in Florida's troubled guardianship system. It will include a hotline that will take and investigate complaints about how seniors' money is being spent by a guardian. NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone tells us how it works.
family you're about to meet is about as divided as a family can be by distance and disagreement in how their elderly parents should be cared for. They're now one of thousands of families in Florida's guardianship program, a system about to get another tweak. Charles and Peggy Weldon had 5 kids and a happy life for 65 years, but that once solid family is now split. Now Carla Alger sees her older sisters only in Miami-Dade's probate court.
I grieved. I grieved for the sisters that I thought I had.
Where they're fighting over their parents' care and their money.
My heart is ripped to shreds. I don't know how to go anywhere from here.
Charles and Peggy and their nearly $2 million in assets are being controlled by a court-appointed guardian. Peggy has dementia and requires round-the-clock care. She's at her home in the Redland.
She always ordered me, because Mom was not a passive person at all, to take care of her at home. I want to be taken care of at home, and that's a promise that I made to her.
And Charles, who was declared incompetent, is more than 800 miles away on Lookout Mountain in Georgia. He talked to us on Skype.
We've never been separated. I didn't let her out of my sight.
But now the former Coral Gables firefighter is missing not only his wife, but also control of the money he saved for retirement.
It's not right. I worked all my life and, trying to build up a retirement, and I think I've done a pretty good job.
Look in the file.
But he says since he's had a guardian, he hasn't been able to access his money.
Except Social Security and food stamps.
Meantime, their guardian, attorneys, even caretakers are all racking up bills and will get paid from the Waldens' money. And these folks gathered here in Fort Lauderdale today are taking new steps to better investigate how that money is being spent. A lot of money, $4 billion, like the Waldens, is tied up in Florida's guardian system.
If you're unscrupulous and you are looking for an easy way to make money a target, especially targeting the elderly, you're not going to look to guardianships anymore. We're closing that hole.
At the Florida Guardianship Association conference today, it was announced the state will create a hotline people can call. Any complaint made will spark an investigation into how a senior's money is being spent by a guardian.
The person who makes the complaint will be able to have a degree of knowledge that something is being done with their case.
The Waldens are not calling for an investigation. They're not accusing their parents' guardian of any wrongdoing. As for Charles, all he wants is to be free of his guardianship.
I want the judge to give me my life back.
He wants his life back. A longtime complaint of critics of the guardianship system is that there's little transparency and oversight. We found an example of that researching the Waldens case. Because records are not open to the public, we couldn't find out how much is being paid to anyone involved in their care. Reporting in the studio, Tony Pipitone, NBC 6 News.